Good morning. Let's maybe mic a little closer. How about that? All right. So, good morning. So I think last coding stream, so last Sunday, I started to work on setting up the AWS Cloud Development Kit. And I recall we're kind of trying to figure out some core stuff with the API. In fact, I think that was the only thing you'll notice in this pull request that I have open right now. There's a lot of other things. I just kind of steamrolled past the obstacle that we ran into on the last stream and then converted all the rest of the Pulumi stuff, which was much more straightforward. But also part of the issue with the cores issue that I was running into with the API gateway was just I was not testing things right. So what I had done, I think, was I cloned one of the GET requests and then I tried to change the HTTP method, but I didn't send all the right headers, and so the right cores headers weren't coming back from API gateway, and so the browser didn't like that. Something along those lines. Anyway. So I think we were really focused on like this core's pre-flight settings here. And so this ended up being sufficient to make it work. I don't think content ranges, I'm not using content range as a header in the APIs, but so it may not all be necessary, but it was sufficient. And then, yeah, so it's, overall, a much more compact way of expressing this infrastructure than the Pulumi and Python equivalent that we did have before. And so I just took all the Pulumi, what is the word? Not construct, something else that starts with Z anyway. Those things, I took them and redid them as CDK constructs. And then what I ended up doing was I ended up creating two stacks. And so the CDK stacks are correspond one-to-one with the underlying AWS CloudFormation stacks. And so I have one here called AppStack. We still have the old name here, but the file and how it's referenced is called AppStack. It's responsible for most of the actual infrastructure for the application, all the Lambda functions, the step function, the batch jobs, and compute environments, and all of those things, and the VPC. And then I have a RepoStack, and the RepoStack is just, most of it is actually in a separate construct, but what this does is it provisions the Elastic Container Registry, or ECR, repositories for the code, or for the executables. And these need to, I think for all practical purposes, these need to be in separate stacks. I want to be able to deploy, initially just deploy it or apply updates to add new repositories independently of deploying updates for the AppStack, right? So if I want to add a new Lambda, I need a repository for the Docker image to live in first. Something I have, and I don't know if I called it out on the stream before. I think I saw it a couple of weeks ago. There's a feature in ECR that is definitely more surfaced in it now. Let's see. Let's go to ECR. Which is you can have these features and settings, right? And so you can have a pull-through cache. One of the things that I've been thinking about is that so right now, all of the hey Brainless, good morning. How's it going? one of the things I have been thinking about is it would be nice to have something to automatically build the Docker images and push them. And because I am working out of GitHub, pushing the Docker images to GitHub makes a lot of sense. So then but it would feel kind of weird to push it there and then also push it to ECR, or I'd have to instrument that. But it seems like with this, I would be able to connect this to the GitHub Docker registry and container registry and pull through here. All is well, trying to stay awake. How about me? Yeah, I was debating when I woke up this morning. I'm back to my normal work schedule of getting up at 6 a.m., although not working today, but I have my alarm to set to 6 a.m. every day, just so that I'm getting on the right sleep schedule. But getting used to that again, and definitely thinking about just turning off the alarm and going back to sleep. But I ended up, eventually getting out of bed and getting down here. But yeah, so that's kind of where things landed from the last stream, and I did not quite get the idea what you were trying to do. Which part? With the containers? Oh yeah. So, nothing yet. I'm thinking in the future what I will want to do is have GitHub Actions, workflow here that's going to build the Docker image and push it to the container registry in GitHub, and then have it pull through into, let's see if I go back. With the pull through cache, you can essentially have it so that it will pull from an upstream registry and it will cache the image in ECR. And why would you care about doing that? Well, I'm setting up Lambda functions in AWS. And these are all, let's see if you look at, here's the newest one. The one I was been working on this week. So this uses a Docker image for the Lambda. So when this Lambda is invoked by API Gateway, it runs this image. It spins up a container, and it can invoke a handler in it. So right now, what I'm doing is I have a do tasks.json. I have a shell script here, and a VS Code task. And so if I want to build a Docker image for the Lambda, I can run that task and say which one, and it pushes it to ECR. And that's fine for right now, where this is a lot of new and active development. But I would like to at some point have a GitHub workflow that when I push or when I trigger a deploy or some mechanism, right, it would push to GitHub's Docker image registry, whatever it's called, and then pull through into ECR. So that's what I was looking at. But that is not something I want to do right now. It's not the most pressing thing. All right, so I fixed the typo. Also, new mouse. I think I mentioned this on stream at one point, getting used to using this again. But I figured for this stream I would just primarily try to use it and see how that goes. Sounded fun. Okay, so what am I doing? uh, what do I want to do today? Well, I've already started. Let's see. One. So there. Let's look at the front end. So we have some features in the front end. Like if I go to the profile, we have the ability to link to Twitch, right? To log in to Twitch and get an access token and all that stuff. And that's fine for some of the use cases that I've built out, like the stream manager. I actually used this morning to set the stream title and category and all that stuff, which is great to actually be able to use the things that I'm building. Yeah, so thinking to myself that I wish the dark mode was not so monochrome. A little bit more color would be nice, but yeah. I had a point though. And what was the point? But there are features that have been. Oh yeah. So like Twitch streams. Well, it's broken for one thing. I should fix that. I think there's definitely things where. Okay. So here's the situation. So we built the ability to connect or reconnect or disconnect or whatever to Twitch, and then what that does is that stores the token somewhere. Is it stored in the profile? I guess it must. Oh yeah. Let's check something real quick. Is there a file schema? Is there anything in here? No. Okay. I just have the ID. Okay, that's not so helpful. So the thought was though that oh, right. Okay. Figuring out what I'm trying to say. One of the issues is that when the way I've implemented the OAuth flow in the front end is that this, if I disconnect and reconnect to Twitch, it will take me to Twitch, like, hey, this app wants access to your account, it wants these permissions, do you approve? You click OK, and it brings me back to the front end, and it's purely a front end kind of flow, and that ends up meaning that the auth token, or at some point the auth token ends up in the URL, and I don't want that, because I would like to be able to use things like that on stream for these kind of streams, and it's just kind of that. Also, what I was going to say before is that the thought would be that we would have this flow that hits the back end, and so we have some back end endpoints that are involved in that OAuth flow, and that would allow that API to be able to save the access and refresh tokens, and be able to do the refresh and those sorts of things behind the scenes, and that would mean that that those tokens would be available for the backend to use. And then my hesitation there was, well, we are saving the token to the profile, I think, because otherwise this wouldn't work. But yeah, so anyway, so that all being said, a lot of the backend work is already done. So I think what we need to do now is actually update the front end. So let me go find. Must have closed. Here we go. So this is the PR for the branch that I've been working on. So there's some stuff in the CDK TypeScript for our API construct that it provisions a secret for me to store the client credentials from my app that I've registered in Twitch in the Twitch developer console, and then my Lambda construct, and then giving it various permissions. The idea being that we would use AWS Secrets Manager to store not just the app secrets, but also when you do the auth flow, you would get back that access token and refresh token, and those would also be stored in Secrets Manager per user. And that's something that as I am kind of converting the application, right, from this kind of effectively single user web app to that is just like, sure, it was containerized, but it's just like not a just like a standalone service, into something where we're using Lambda and using these different AWS services. I'm also considering like how to make it more ready to be like a multi-user application, and there's still a lot to go in that regard. Like the data model, like how we're storing stuff in the database, still need to think about how we are controlling access. That I've not done anything with regard to that yet, so that will come when it comes. Yeah, so quite simple to hook up a Lambda to a route. I can just take everything that starts with auth Twitch and send it to the Lambda, and then made some changes to how we're representing the Twitch auth request from the front end to the back end. Why is this here? It shouldn't be here. I guess I copied it and didn't delete it. That was a thing that I was experimenting with that I ended up not using. And I moved it into a separate folder to pursue. So we're using a crate called Figment. I'm pretty sure someone on a stream many months ago suggested it. Might have been nearly a year ago at this point. But yeah, so one of the things that Figment has, so Figment is a thing that allows us to define a struct, potentially a hierarchical, like nested set of structs for configuration. And we're using this all over the place, right? So like even in the Lambdas, we have like a config struct. And Figment lets us say, hey, look in the environment, look for environment variables, and matching ones, and then load this config. And then it has other providers as well. And so my thought was, wouldn't it be cool to have a provider that would be able to, similar to the way the file provider works, where it uses an existing provider to find an environment variable or some other setting, right? And then uses that to, in the case of the file provider, treat that, the contents of that, as a file name for a file that it consumes, and that becomes the value for the config. So like if you have a file that has a secret in it, you can pass the file name to that file, in like an environment variable, and it will load that. And so I was thinking of something similar where you would pass the ARN or the ID of AWS Secrets Manager secret, and it would somehow load that. But then I decided that it wasn't worth the trouble for what I wanted to do here. So this is all part of what's going on over here in Twitch Lambda. So I ended up just saying, okay, well, the config will just be Twitch secret ARN, and what I'm doing is in main, I'm just at when the container boots, right? So when the Lambda is first invoked or needs to be invoked, and there's not an available warm container to handle it, this code is executed, and one of the things it does is it builds a secret manager client and retrieves that credential object, which we're parsing, treating it as JSON and parsing. Although I have not actually set up that secret manager secret, which is unfortunate because that's not something I'm going to want to do on stream. Oh, we can remove this to do because I'm not doing this. Not doing this as part of this project anyway. Okay. Well, let's see. So I think at this point, if I go over to Secrets Manager, things to not do. Open secrets on stream. There we go. Okay, so there's the secret. There's nothing in it right now. Well, there's some randomly generated text in it right now. That's not what needs to be in there. Just move that over there, and we'll. How am I gonna do this? This is something I think I was planning on doing before the stream, and then I must have gotten distracted. All right, so brilliant. Okay, so how far can I go without showing secrets on stream? This far. I think what I'll do is I'll make a new app. This is going to be GT Backend Dev. What is going to be the OAuth redirect URLs? So for that, look at my API gateway. Twitch OAuth something. Let's see. And again, for this Lambda, I did end up using Axum in the Axum AWS Lambda crate so that I could just use a router and do this way. So we went off Twitch callback. Okay, like that. Category is application integration. Or something. Let's try that. And this will be confidential. I am not a robot. I swear. I think this will still not immediately show the secret, but I'm gonna move this off screen for a moment while I click create. Oh yeah, okay, so that just takes me. Let me go into it and make sure that's correct. So that ends up just taking me to back to the list of applications, right? So there's what I just created. I can go to manage, and then you can see the settings, and then I would need to create a client secret. So again, borrow that window for a minute. New secret. Are you sure you want to generate a new secret? Yep. All right. Let's not look at a blank screen. Okay, so secret manager, edit. Let's see, what was it called? Is it called secret, I think? Paste, and then ID, and then something. Redirect URI, I forget what the other thing was. Let's go back to the code, go back to here. ID secret redirect URL. Okay. Doing stuff off screen. Very entertaining, right? Very interesting. I guess it's better than leaking secrets again. Okay, so good. All right, so that is now set. We'll close all of the things, and then let me get my main browser window back, and we'll drag console back over to here. So we have the secret updated as shown without actually seeing the secret. And okay. So the next thing to do is to update the front end to use these new to use the back end to do authentication to Twitch, right? I think so. There we go. Okay. How? All right, let's create a branch. I guess I'll give it the same name as the branch on the other repo. And what are we going to do? So I think one of the things that I've been thinking about as I was thinking about how I want to migrate how we're doing authentication to Twitch from essentially the old app, right? All the stuff in API into, whoops, what did I do? No, don't do that. That's where it all changes. Okay. That's why it's important to commit often. Imagine if I had, uncommitted changes and I accidentally, it could have been fixed like from the commit. But it's very convenient to say, no, I didn't mean to do that. Just throw away everything. So we have like, right. So the old way, from the kind of pre AWS migration, right, was that we had backend endpoints, right? This is before like all the stream management stuff was implemented too, right? So the only purpose for this was for a single endpoint that was provided. Handlers, Twitch, to list videos, right? That was the only thing, question mark. I think the only thing that I used the like getting the access token from Twitch and that stuff was for that purpose. So thinking about, like, I want to store the access token somewhere where backend processes can take advantage of them. I might have some bots or some other automated, backend thing that will want to use these tokens. So like this, I mean, this was storing the tokens in Redis, but we need to store something in the backend. But the other side of that is I didn't necessarily want to create proxy endpoints or wrappers in a API just to call Twitch's API, right? What we've been doing in the Glowing Telegram front end has been directly calling Twitch's APIs, right? So if we look at, where did I put that file? Utilities, I guess, Twitch, right? So I have this file, which is a wrapper, like a set of functions to call the various Twitch APIs and then give me types about what I get back. So I wouldn't, for instance, want to create my own APIs just to essentially hand off to Twitch. I don't think. I mean, that is a thing that you could do, because maybe the front end doesn't need that, or maybe there's some additional work that it makes sense to have happen in, not in the front end. Maybe like the front end could be something where it's just all a GraphQL API, and then you have your backend or your middle tier takes those GraphQL requests and could do things like call Twitch or do this or do that. But I decided I wanted to continue. To go down this route of just have the front end call to Twitch, and so the front end needs the access token to be able to interact with Twitch's API, and so those are kind of the considerations for how I want this all to work. So we have the stream manager and how it's directly interacting with Twitch. One of the things I want to do is, I guess I just want to effectively update the Twitch streams list and what it's doing to work from the Twitch API. Now this is interesting. What did import streams do? Have I already removed the front end? No, it's still there. Okay, so we can look at the old front end. So I had a Twitch videos data provider. So this was a wrapper. This is calling my API, which is just calling Twitch's API. What's this import thing? Import videos or streams. Uh, oh, I see. Okay, so we're just making a put request to our CRUD endpoint, and we're sending whatever list we got to it. Okay, that is kind of unnecessary. Could have used normal data provider stuff to do that. Okay, and we're back in the new front end repo. Okay. So I need to identify what needs to be changed and probably think about kind of what order makes sense. So how does this work? So we're using infinite list, which is the React admin component. And ultimately what ties this to how it actually gets data is defined by the resource that we declare here, Twitch streams, right? And so this spread is actually spreading the whatever it imported from resources Twitch streams, which would be that list component, which means that in RA data provider, yeah, we have a Twitch videos data provider. Yeah. Okay. Let's make a list of things to do. No, not. All right. Yeah, nope. In Twitch videos data provider. .ts. Update to use. Let's see. Let's say slash. Is it utils twitch.ts? Right. So instead of having this, try to call the API, right? So the API gateway in this case, and slapping Twitch videos on it. That doesn't exist. That's why the front end currently doesn't work. Instead of doing that, have it directly use its utilities twitch.ts. To get that. I don't know if I have a function that does that quite yet. We can add that. If not, now, you know, it's helpful to use the outline. Hey, look, it's all the things. Create authorize URI, validate access token. Some of this stuff won't be needed anymore, or will be rearranged. We'll figure out what that. Add streams list function. Yep. What else? So if we have a function here to be called and we use it here, then that means that the front end should work. One of the things that we're doing is that all of these functions, they're not plugged into anything in the rest of the front end app to know where like the broadcaster ID or access token come from. That's down to whatever it's calling them. So presumably what we're doing is we're getting that from the profile. am I going to change how that works? Hey, Drake. Smart to understand that I have no idea what Saban is doing, but I'm sure it's great. Well, if you have questions, I'm happy to attempt to answer them. But either way, I appreciate you being here. How has your Sunday morning been going? Good, I hope. The summary though of what I'm doing is just thinking, just chilling. All right, nice. Just thinking about how I want stuff to work, in a way that is not going to be awkward for future me. And that is probably the biggest challenge in software development, is not just solving the problem, but solving the problem and tomorrow's problem and the next day, but also not solving problems that don't exist or may not exist. So we have this idea of a profile, and I think I have a hook called use profile that does things, right? We have this way. Vindrake says, I can imagine considering future you in the world of coding is, yeah, it can be. Although that is also a danger, right? There's a principle in software engineering, YAGNI, YAGNI, you aren't going to need it. There's all sorts of things like this, right? But there's a danger of saying, oh, I need to build this really complicated thing because, well, what if I need to change it this way? What if I need to change it this way? And that can become a whole, like, that you dig yourself into that just turns out to be unnecessary. Yeah, preparing for too many scenarios. Exactly. So I have this concept of a profile. And so what I'm doing is I'm storing in the database a profile record that has a bunch of stuff in it. What does it have in it? That's a good question. I think, why on earth did I call this? Okay, I called it return. That's kind of a weird name for that type. But the profile has this stuff in it. So it has a broadcaster ID, access token, it has tags, time zone, basically stuff I want to be able to show in some way on this page. But the issue is that what I was thinking about doing is having the access token and this other, basically it's a credential. It is the thing that allows an application to change my stream tags or change the category I'm streaming in, or anything that I've given it permission to do. Basically, the credential that I'm dealing with is the thing that allows my stream manager here to be able to, snooze ads, run ads, all of this stuff, right? Probably some other stuff I'm going to add to it, like to be able to interact with chat in the future. So it's pretty sensitive, and I was thinking it would make sense to use Secret Manager because that will, like, all those tokens would be kind of stored, encrypted in their own dedicated place and not mixed in with other things. But that means that then all of the places where I am reading this stuff. Okay, this access token is the access token for API Gateway. I see. I guess the thing that I could do is well, there's some things, right? So I could change the API endpoint that this ends up calling to get the profile to also go into Secrets Manager and pull the secret and inject it there. And that way I wouldn't have to change anything on the front end. If I do that though, that's going to make that the back end, the API that is getting the record from DynamoDB in this case, much more complicated, because now I need a special case just for profile where it does this thing, where I make it more generic, because it's like, okay, well, I could have other records though. So, but that's I don't want to do that. If it was the case that everyone in the front end was using this hook to get the profile, then I could just add something here that can go and get the token. Or I pull this access token out of the profile and I say anywhere that needs that, it needs to go do a separate thing to get the access token. That might be better. So how many places refer to Twitch.access token? Not that many, right? So we have, basically these are all things that are part of the Stream Manager, that UI that I had up just a minute ago. So they are all fetching the profile, or they are getting the profile from their parent component. And it's interesting here, like this component, it doesn't need anything from profile except for that access token. So potentially, I don't know necessarily that I'd want to, like I wouldn't necessarily want to make this component responsible for fetching that. I might just have it pass the access token as a prop to this component and do the same thing with this one, and I guess this one too. Yeah. Okay, so I think I've settled on something, which is remove Twitch access token from profile type. We want to create a new type for Twitch access token, something like that. Create some kind of type that's like, okay, here's the thing, and it has an access token. We could have other things in it as well. But yeah, something like that. So when we let's take a look at how these components are being used. Actually, okay, can I go here? Can I go to references? Right, so here we use this component. Profile. Where's profile coming from? It's taken as a prop, which means probably our Stream Manager. Go to references. Yeah, Stream Manager page. And it uses the use profile hook. So I think, because this also is where add manager is used, right? Yeah. So good news. Basically, all of the current uses of profile.switch.access token are contained, and it's really, hold on, see, it doesn't take any args. So where are we calling use profile? Okay, so in this component, right, so the Twitch token liveness checker. Let's see, let's do this. Let me get a little bit more. Oh, there's the to-do. Let's take this and put this on the side. There we go. Update things that need to use Twitch. Yeah, I guess I'll call it use Twitch access token. So Twitch token liveness checker is something that I think every hour attempts to validate the token, and if it is not valid, it clears it, and it clears it by changing the profile data. Does this continue to make sense? Where we have I think not. I think what I'm going to want to do is this type for the Twitch access token. It's going to be something more like valid. Yeah. So that what we can do is we can have this front end state that has both the access token and whether or not it's valid or not. I guess in that sense, then this should be like string or undefined. And then update the state of the front end rather than this being something where we need to sync to the backend to tell the backend, hey, clear this token out. The reason we're doing this is that the existing backend is just storing the data. It doesn't know anything about what that token is. The new backend, on the other hand, is, well, I think there's a couple of to-dos left in it, but the idea is that when we request for the token to be given to us, it is validating that it's still valid, and it's should be, I think that was one of the to-dos, is to use the refresh token to get fresh access token if it needs to, and otherwise give back an error, that sort of stuff, right? So we remove that responsibility from the front end by having this backend API that does that. And then, what else? The profile page uses profile. Unsurprising. Oops, if I double... Oh, I see it. Brought it over here. Okay. Come over here. So... somewhere in here. Oh, yeah. Twitch OAuth button. So this has to change. Twitch auth button plus profile page. Stream manager page uses use profile. So profile page, stream manager page rather. And then, stream plans edit uses use profile. to one end. For the Twitch category autocomplete input. So this is something where the stream plans edit only needed the profile to be able to provide the access token. So stream plans edit plus what was that thing called? Do it like this. Okay, so we have kind of a hit list of the things that need to be touched to handle this. And then I guess something I need to figure out, right, is that in the data provider, I don't know if I still have that file open. Let's see, there it is. It's not like we have access to, I guess, Wait, how do I do that in the other, like then the REST data provider? How do we have, oh, I see. We use user manager, get user. Okay, so we're relying on like previously prepared state. Okay, well, somehow it has been an hour, and Twitch wants to run an ad, so I'll be back in a couple minutes, and we'll continue plan making and then actually doing things.